So we're going to start seated today. You may be able to use a couple of blocks and a blanket. Go ahead and turn your blanket so it's a long rectangle. And then you can sit on your blanket just so that your hips are a little bit higher than the knees. And as you adjust your seat, find your sitting bones. You may want to sway your spine a little side to side, front and back. And then as you become still, see that the spine is nice and tall. So the crown of your head is in line with the base of your spine. And then the back of the neck is long. And just begin to notice any sensations in your body. Notice what you're bringing with you to this moment. Any tension, any tightness, or even notice the areas of the body that are spacious and free. And then gently begin to bring your awareness to your breath. And we're going to really use the breath to move into the poses. So begin to inhale through the nose and exhale out through an open mouth. And then we're going to do some opening poses for the neck and shoulder. So take your left ear to your left shoulder and then bring your chin down to your left shoulder, and then just kind of like you're drawing a quarter of a circle, take your chin from your left shoulder to your sternum and then back to your shoulder, and just move with this for a few moments. Maybe if you find a little more tension in one area of the neck, just pause there for a moment. Just moving the neck really nice and slow in that quarter circle from the chest, from the sternum to the shoulder, and then back to the center. And then bring your gaze back to the center, please, and take your left ear to your left shoulder. This nice lateral movement of the neck, your left ear to the left shoulder. And then notice if you want to raise the left shoulder, just allow the left shoulder and even the right shoulder to be soft, so that all you're doing is moving the head, moving the neck to the side. Then gently begin to bring your right arm out to the side. And as you raise the right arm, your head comes to the center. As you lower the right arm down, you're taking your ear to your shoulder. And move this with your own breath. So your inhalation raises the arm, your exhalations lower the ear down. Then pause here for a few moments. Internally rotate the shoulder. Take the back of your hand to your low back and just pause there for a moment. Feel a nice stretch on the right side of the neck, then coming back to the center, and then do the same thing with the other side. So taking your chin to your right shoulder first, and then begin to draw that quarter circle from the neck to the sternum. Nice deep inhalations and exhalation as you're moving. Just feel a nice opening in the back of the neck, a quarter circle from the shoulder to the sternum. And if you feel tension in one particular area, you can always stay there or just keep moving with your breath. And then next time, bringing the gaze to the center, take your right ear to the right shoulder and back to the center. And then eventually we're going to add the arm. So your left arm comes to the side. And as you take your right ear to the right shoulder, feel a nice stretch on the left side of the neck. Nice and easy. And then next time your gaze is back to the center, lift that left arm up, and as you exhale, lower the ear to the shoulder. And move with this breath. So each time your arm comes to the center, arm comes up, the head is to the center, and when the arm is down, the ear is to the shoulder. So move through this with your own breath a few more times. Your inhalation brings you back to the center, and exhale, stretch out the neck. As the arm moves down, your right ear comes to the right shoulder, and then pause there. Internally rotate the shoulder and take your back of your hand to your low back, and just pause there for a moment. And with your inhalation coming back to the center, release the arm. And we're going to remove the blanket, put it to the side for now. And we're going to come down to crocodile pose. For crocodile pose, you want to stack your fingertips and rest your forehead. So you're on your belly, you're stacking your fingertips, and you're resting your forehead on top of your stacked fingertips. Now move your hips a little bit side to side so that you make sure that your hips are very soft. You're not squeezing the buttocks. Top of the feet are gently resting on the floor. Your knees are soft. The hamstrings are soft. Everything in your lower body is completely soft. And then the shoulders are moving away from the ears, and you have a sensation of the armpits melting on the floor. And you can stay in crocodile pose and practice that. If you want a little bit more of a back bend, go ahead and come into Sphinx pose. For Sphinx pose, you bring your elbows in close to your body, and the elbows are right in line with the shoulders, and the palms of your hands are resting on the floor. And this is pretty passive. So normally for our active practices, we use it a little bit more actively, press our shoulder up. For this one, I want you to just really rest passively in this pose. And you're establishing a really nice equanimity in your back. So just be mindful that you're not putting too much compression on your low back. You're just raising the chest up. And you can begin to maybe look over your left shoulder, look over your right shoulder, just kind of moving the shoulders around. You can stay in that Sphinx pose if you like to. If you like a little bit more back bend, go ahead and move your hands away from your hips, press your hands down, and then lift your torso up into seal pose. So the elbows become a little bit more straight as you lift the chest up. And continue with your breath. Stay here for a few more breaths. Nice and deep inhalation. Your exhalation brings you back down to Sphinx pose. And then tuck your toes under, and we're going to come into what's called Anahata Asana. It's similar to downward facing dog, except that you're on your knees. So you're on your knees, and then just bring your hands and elbows down onto the floor, and see if you can bring your forehead down as well. Your hips are aligned with the knees. So it's not a child's pose. Your hips are still up in the air, and your sitting bones are reaching up to the sky. If this is too much and the ground feels too far, you can always stack your hands like you did in crocodile pose and rest your forehead on to your stacked hands. Otherwise, for a nice shoulder opening, you can extend the arms above your head and just let the armpits melt towards the floor. You feel really nice opening in the armpits, in the back, in upper back, shoulders. And then establish your breath once again, inhaling and exhaling, and your inhalation is going to bring you up on all fours. And now we're going to go into child's pose. So bring your big toes together, knees are wide apart. Child's pose for a moment, and then raise your right arm to the side and cross that right arm, thread the right arm underneath your body so you can come into what's called the quarter dog pose. And you can have your left hand underneath your forehead, or you can extend the left arm overhead and just rest in this very gentle and lovely twist. Very nice and lovely twist. So the twist is happening in your upper body, in the thoracic spine. You may feel some nice stretch in the back of the right shoulder. And then feel a nice opening, maybe even in your low back, as you rest in this child's pose variation. Feel how your low back can soften. Your upper back can soften. As you inhale, can you send your breath to the space in between your shoulder blades? Imagine that each inhalation is opening your back body more and more and more. And you can exhale out of an open mouth, inhaling through the nose. Feel your back body open up, and as you exhale, exhale out through an open mouth. You feel your belly softening through the knees, your low back softening away from the shoulders. And just rest here for just a few more moments. And then slowly begin to come out of the pose. Inhale, lift the chest up. And then with your next inhalation, raising the left arm to the side and thread it under your body, reaching across underneath the body. And then do the same thing. So maybe it's nice to rest your forehead on top of your right hand. Or maybe you want to extend the right arm overhead. And as you come into this pose, begin to find your breath once again, inhaling and exhaling. Each inhalation, feel as if you can really open up your entire backside body. Feel a nice opening in the back, in your thoracic spine, a nice twist in the thoracic spine. And then feel that lengthening in your lumbar spine. Stay here for a few more moments, breathing into the space behind the heart, and exhale out through an open mouth. Let it go. One more inhalation, one long exhalation. And we're going to slowly begin to come out of the pose. So coming up on all fours, tabletop pose. Let's move through some cat-cows. With your inhalation, lift the chest up. And then as you exhale, take your hips back to child's pose. And move through this like a wave. Inhaling, coming forward, lifting the chest up. Exhaling, back to child's pose. Inhaling, coming forward, lifting the chest up. Keep the elbows bent as you come forward. And then as you exhale, keep the elbows straight and take your hips back to your child's pose. And do this a couple more times. And then next time you come back to the center, pause there for a few moments. As you inhale, raise the right leg back behind you. Exhale, step the right foot in between your hands and come up on low lunge. And then pull the belly in so you can elongate the tail towards your left heel. With your inhalation, raise the left arm overhead to a side bend. And then as you exhale, bring it back to the center. And then move through this with your own breath. Inhaling, reach over. Exhale, elbows comes to your rib cage. Inhaling, reach the left arm over. Exhaling, the elbow comes to your rib cage. And then next time you inhale, pause there. And then with your right hand, you can grab your left wrist and just stretch that entire left side open. As you inhale, send your breath to the left lung, and exhale, release the hands all the way down to the floor. Putting your right hand on the outside of the right knee. Just do a gentle twist to the upper spine. Keep the hips equally square, so the twist is happening on the thoracic spine. And then raising your right arm overhead. Take your gaze to your fingertips. As you reach overhead, inhale, stretch the right fingertips over your head, and your exhalation is going to take the arm back behind you towards your back heel. And move through this a few more times, inhaling, reaching the right arm overhead, exhaling, the fingers come behind you, and then soften the right arm all the way down, taking the right leg back behind you. And inhale into that same cat-cow variation. Your exhalation is going to take your hips back to the heels in child's pose. Inhaling, taking the left leg back behind you, bring the left foot in between your hands, and then come up onto lunge. Pull the belly in, elongating the tailbone. Inhaling, raise the right arm overhead, and then pause here for a moment. Exhale. Bringing the elbow down towards the rib cage. As you inhale, reach over and stretch it out. Exhaling, draw the elbow to the rib cage. Inhaling, stretching the right arm overhead. Exhaling, elbow comes to the rib cage. Inhaling, reach the fingertips all the way up and pause there. And then with your left hand, you can grab your right wrist and have a nice stretch on that right side, sending your breath all the way to the right lung. Open up that entire side where your liver is, stretch it out. And then as you're ready, coming back to the center with your next inhalation. Release your hands all the way down to the floor. And then taking your left hand to the outside of your left knee. Press the hand onto the knee as you press the knee onto your hand, and just establish your nice twist on the thoracic spine. Reaching your left arm overhead, take your gaze to your fingertips. As you inhale, reach overhead, and then your exhalation is going to take your arm back behind you, reaching towards your back heel. Inhaling, reach overhead. Exhaling, back behind you. Inhaling, reach the arm overhead. Exhaling, your fingertips reach to the heel behind you. And then this time, as you reach your fingertips overhead, you can pause there for a moment and really feel the stretch all the way from the left hip through the left armpit all the way out through the left fingertips. Take one more nice inhalation. Your exhalation is going to bring your arm down, and then gently coming back into tabletop pose. And then this time I'm going to suggest that you sit back on your blanket and extend your legs forward into Dandasana. And then taking your right knee on top of the left knee, cross that right knee over, interlace your fingers around the knee, and then inhale, lift the chest up, and exhale, fold forward. And this is a beautiful stretch for your hamstrings, yes, but also your entire backside. So feel a fantastic stretch all the way from the Achilles tendon through the back of the calf, through the back of the hamstring, through your hips, through your lumbar spine, your QL muscles on your low back, and then upper shoulders, and even maybe all the way to the base of the scalp. Then leaning over, bend your bottom leg, bend your left knee back. Internally rotate your right shoulder like we did before, and take your right hand behind you. And then you may be able to take your left hand behind you and just grab your right elbow. If that works out, that's great. You can stay there. If you can do Gomukhasana arms, you can take your left arm overhead and see if you can find your fingertips back behind you. You may be able to use a towel or a strap if you have one, or just get a hold of your t-shirt back there. And then inhale, lift the chest up, and your exhale, you're going to come forward, folding forward. And if you fold forward and you feel that's too much on the shoulders, please back off. Just stay up seated, holding opposite elbows behind you. It's always best to, especially in yin poses, you don't really want to go to the edge right away. So just kind of get into a place where you feel the stretch and then relax in that pose. And then inhaling, lifting the chest up, taking the right arm out to the side, and then bringing the right elbow underneath the left elbow into eagle arms. The back of your hands can touch each other if you can, and if you like to, you can cross twice. And then keeping the elbows to the center, begin to take your elbows over to the right. It's almost like you're peeking through, like playing peekaboo. Take your elbow to the right so that you can take your gaze to the left. Just move through this a little bit at a time. Get a nice stretch in the back of your shoulder. Your fingertips are reaching up to the sky, and next time just come into the center and pause there for a few minutes as you're compressing your armpit and the fingertips are reaching up, and then release your arms. Inhale, reach your arms all the way out to the side, interlace your fingers, reach the palms away from you, and then bring your left elbow and hook your right knee. So you're coming into what's called Ardha Matsyendrasana. And I'm going to do this from the side view so you can see what I did. So your left arm reaches up, you're hooking the right knee, you're sitting tall, you're grounding down through the sitting bones. Both sitting bones are on the earth. As you inhale, reach the right arm up and left arm up, the right arm behind you. Inhalation elongates the spine, your exhalation twists you. And then if you like to go a little bit deeper and you have a bind in your practice, you can always bind your arms. But again, there's no forcing involved in any kind of yoga, but particularly in yin. Make sure that whatever you're doing feels good on the body. We all have different structures, bodily structures, so never forcing yourself to do anything. And then your inhalation is going to release you out of the pose. Now come into Dandasana again. Bend your knees deep. Inhale, reach the arms out to the side. And as you exhale, you can fold forward, hugging your knees in. Your next inhalation is going to raise the arms overhead once again. And then this time your left leg is going to cross, your left knee is going to cross on top of the right knee. And inhale, lift the chest up, and exhale, fold forward. And again, feeling that fantastic stretch all the way from the Achilles tendon through the back of the leg. Your entire backside body is getting a great stretch right now, all the way through the base of your scalp. Each inhalation opens up a little bit more space in the back, a little bit more space in the spine. And with next inhalation, lifting the torso up, internally rotate your left shoulder so that you can reach your left hand behind you, and you can just grab the opposite elbow. This is perfectly fine to stay here. If you have a little bit more opening in the shoulders and you like to go a little bit deeper, you can turn, externally rotate the top arm, the right arm, reach back behind you, and maybe you can find your fingertips behind you. Maybe you can use your shirt or a strap, and stay here and practice in that your arms are in Gomukhasana. Your legs are also crossed over, so the knees are crossed, the left knee is crossed over to the right. And then as you have your Gomukhasana hold, you can fold forward if you like to. Again, making sure that you're not forcing your body into any shape. So particularly in Yin Yoga, we don't necessarily put our bodies into a pose. We get into a pose to get inside our bodies. We get the body to be quiet, still. And then as you inhale, coming back to the center, extending the right leg straight. Left knee is crossed on top, and we're going to do our eagle arm on this side. So extending your arms out to the side. Your left arm comes underneath the right, so the left elbow is underneath the right elbow, and you can cross twice if you like to. As you're inhaling, reach the fingertips straight up to the sky as you're compressing the armpit. And then we're going to move through that same movement that we did, peekaboo movement, that your elbow is going to the side as your head is going to the opposite side. So the elbows move over to the right as the head moves over to the left. But for this particular pose, the eagle arm, just really think about the fingertips moving towards the sky as the elbows are moving down. So you're really compressing the lymph nodes underneath the armpits. And then next time you come back to the center, just pause there for a few moments. Beautiful. Inhaling, releasing the arms. And then we're going to do Ardha Matsurandasana on this side. So your left leg is, the left knee is towards your chest. You're sitting equally on both sitting bones. Make sure that that left hip is not coming off the ground, off the mat. Inhale, reach the right arm all the way up to the sky, and exhale, twist over to the left so you can hook the left knee. You can take your right elbow to the outside of the left knee, or you can create a bind if you like to. Your spine is tall, so be mindful that you're not leaning one way or another. Inhaling, reaching the spine all the way up to the sky. The crown of the head reaches up to the sky, and exhale, you can twist a little bit more if you like to. Your next inhalation is going to bring your gaze back to the front and slowly release out of the pose. And then gently lean back. This time, as you go into Dandasana, we're going to go into the butterfly pose. So bringing the soles of your feet together and make this butterfly a little bit wider than usual. So it's not a tight butterfly. Your heels are a little bit farther away from the groin. And inhale, lift the chest up, and then exhale, fold forward into your butterfly pose, Baddha Konasana. And then really let go. If you find yourself struggling to release the hips or release the low back in this pose, see if you can put a block under your forehead, or maybe you can stack your fists one on top of another and rest your forehead on the stacked fist, or have something where you can bring your forehead all the way down. So your forehead should be resting on something. And then just release everything, release the shoulders, release the back of the neck. And then as you stay here a little bit longer, maybe you can even move the blocks or whatever you have between the forehead and your feet, releasing the arms. Just really soften through it. This is such a quiet pose. And next time with your inhalation, come up really slowly. Bring your left heel towards your groin. Extend the right leg out to the side. Take your sternum and align it with your left heel. And then as you're ready, your right arm comes on the inside of this outstretched leg, your right leg. Inhale, begin to reach your left arm overhead. And exhale, bring the elbow to your ribcage, just like we did before in an earlier pose. Inhale, reach the fingertips over your head. Exhale, the elbow comes to your ribcage. And some of you may be able to take your left fingertips towards your right toes. If it's nowhere near it, don't worry about it, don't sweat it, just pause there for a moment. And feel a nice stretch opening on that entire side. If you like to, you can take the top arm, internally rotate the shoulder and take the back of the hand like we did earlier to your low back. But really think about rotating your rib cage up to the sky so that the lower rib cage is lifting up to the sky. And then inhale, coming out of the pose, you can press yourself up on the left knee, reach up behind you, stretch it up. That feels so good. And then switching sides. So bringing the right heel close to your groin. Take your sternum and align it with your right knee. And then taking your left elbow on the inside of the left leg, begin to reach the right arm overhead. Inhale, reach over towards your toes. And exhale, your elbow comes to your ribcage. Inhaling, reaching over. Exhaling, elbow comes to your ribcage. Inhaling, reach and stretch. And exhaling, the elbow comes towards your ribcage. And then next time, just pause there for a few moments. And some of you may be able to reach your fingertips towards your toes. If you do, think about the elbow going up to the sky. So stretching open all the entire right side. We have been doing this throughout this class. Feel that nice opening on the right side body. If you like to, you can take the top arm, internally rotate the shoulder and put the back of your hand on your low back. And then just pause there for a minute. Maybe the bottom hand can reach your big toe. Just be at peace with whatever your body needs at this moment. And then inhaling, pressing yourself back up. Come up on your right knee and stretch it open to the side. And exhale, bringing your hips all the way back down. And then for your next pose, we're going to roll up our blanket into a nice tight roll. And this really depends on you. So you can make it as tight as you want or as little as you want. You can have it just like we did before in a long rectangle, or you can make it into a nice tight ball. And then I always like to take the blocks. My knees are going to rest on the blocks next to me. So the blanket is going to rest on that thoracic spine, on the lower portion of where the bra line would go. Your shoulders should be able to rest on the floor comfortably. And as you bring the soles of your feet together, you can open your knees out to the side and let your knees rest on top of the blocks, if you have them. And if you don't, that's fine too. If this is too much on the low back, you can always extend the legs straight. And just be mindful that the back of the neck is long, so if you need to, you can pick up the head just a little bit, elongate the back of the neck, and place your head back down. Allow the arms to be open to the side. Close your eyes. And just enjoy this chest opening, this heart opening pose. You no longer have to control your breath. Just let the breath flow naturally. Your own natural rhythm of breathing. Feeling every part of your body relaxing and letting go just a little bit longer. Soften the cheeks, soften the jaws. You absolutely don't have to do anything anymore. You can stay here for the rest of the class if this feels good. Or you can begin to slowly straighten the legs if you like to. At this point, whatever your body is asking for, give yourself permission to do. If you like to straighten the legs, and maybe even rotate a little side to side, and then lift your blanket out of the way. And for this next part of this pose, I'm going to suggest that you roll your blanket and put it right under your spine. So the blanket is going to be basically from the base of your spine all the way to the base of your scalp. And then taking one of the blocks, you can use that as a blanket or as a pillow. And adjust yourself as you need it. So get really comfortable. Initially, when we get into this pose, it might feel like we're kind of tipping over. That blanket roll is going to be right underneath the spine. Make sure you're not leaning one way or another. And if this is too much and you don't want to do it, just remove the blanket. This is completely your practice. Whatever feels good for you at this moment. Allow your body to experience the bliss of this moment. Let the toes fall away from each other, heels are mat width apart, calves are resting on the ground. You feel the ground coming up and supporting you. And at any moment, if you want to move the blanket, you can, or you can just stay here in this pose for your final pose for your Shavasana. You can stay with the props or completely remove the props and just rest in your final pose, Shavasana. Allow the eyes to sink into the sockets. The tongue is heavy. The cheeks are smooth. You no longer are controlling the breath. Your breath is completely natural. You may even find that you don't need to breathe. Feel a sense of release. Feel a sense of completely letting go of anything that doesn't serve you anymore. Feel a sense of love, compassion, kindness towards yourself and others. You can stay here for as long as you like to. If you're ready to move on for the rest of your day, begin to gently wake your body up, inhaling And exhaling, draw one knee towards your chest, draw the other knee towards your chest, and then gently roll over to one side and rest for a moment. And with the top, strengthen your top arm, press yourself to a comfortable seat. Bring in your hands to your heart center. Close your eyes. May all living beings be happy. May all living beings be healthy. May all living beings be safe. And may all living beings flourish and thrive. Thank you for joining me today. Namaste.